Welcome everyone, I'm Vi, I'm e-commerce marketing expert at Omnisend. And just think about this. If 95% of decisions happen in our subconsciousness, why are we still writing emails for that rational mind when it's not the main ruling thing when we're making decisions? And to help us remedy this, because I'm sure we all are still making that mistake, it's very counterintuitive. To help with that, we have Milda, who is a senior content marketing manager at Omnisend, and she's going to walk us through the psychology behind a sales email. We're going to talk about the triggers, the structure, and phrases that help you sell. So, Milda, would you like to say hello?
Yes, hello everyone. Very cool to see everybody joining from all the different places. I really hope you're gonna enjoy this. This was very interesting for me to prepare for you guys. So
It's going to be packed with information, lots of actionable tips. And just so you know, you will receive all the slides. So in case you think you missed something, you will receive the replay and the slides later. And that's leading into the things to know. This session is being recorded. You will receive the recording in a couple of days, again, including the slides that we're going to show today. And if you have any questions during the webinar, we have a Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen, so you can drop your questions in there. We also have a team, as you've seen Ira, responding in the chat box. So if you have any questions as well about Omnisend specifically, you can drop it in there. And we will reconvene once we reach the Q&A session after Milda finishes her presentation. And we will answer any other questions that might remain. So I'm very excited for everyone to hear what Milda has to say. And Milda, the stage is yours.
thank you. I hope everybody can hear me okay. If no, Baiwa, scream. But yeah, so today we're going to cover a few key areas in order for you to get a better idea of how psychology behind your sales email work. We'll cover how our brains make decisions, what are mental triggers that help to drive action, how to deal with common buyer objections, and we'll also go through an ideal email structure in terms of copy. In addition, after the webinar, I'll share with you a doc with some effective phrases you can use, and we'll also discuss your next steps. So yeah, let's begin. And 1 second. Yeah, now it's working. Good. So let's kick things off with some truths that most emails don't fail because the product is bad. They fail because the copy simply doesn't connect. And that's our goal today, to fix that. Because you can have the best product in the world, but if your email doesn't resonate, nobody clicks. And you end up sounding like a brochure and not a conversation, and nobody wants that. So, for example, here's a quick before and after, right? The flat version is technically correct, but it's emotionally empty. So I'm introducing our new feature, learn more on our website. So it basically assumes that you care already, and we are not giving you a reason to. And the second version, it hits a pain point, which is wasting time, and makes a promise. So we hear tired of wasting hours on this. Our new feature, it cuts that time in half. So it's clear and emotional, and it's benefit focused. So that's the kind of shift we are here to make today. And it is important to understand that people don't usually read every word. They skim and they feel and sense whether it matters to them. So our job is to write for the gut first and let the brain catch up later. So how do we do that? We can start by looking at the human behind the inbox. We will now break down the psychology of how our brain buys. So because, once you understand how people make decisions and not how we wish that they would make those decisions, which is usually very often seen in marketers, but how they actually do that, then you can write emails that feel natural, clear, and persuasive. So, okay, the human mind. There are three useful lenses to understand how people think and, more importantly, how they decide. First is the conscious versus unconscious mind. The conscious mind, it handles deliberate thought. So that's the voice saying, let me think about it. And the unconscious mind is the one that actually drives the behavior. It's emotion, it's instinct, gut feeling, and that's what we are really writing for in our sales emails. And the second, we have trion brain theory. So it's not really accurate in terms of neuroscience, like by those standards, but it's a really helpful metaphor in marketing. So what we have basically three brains, which is reptilian one, and it's focused on survival. So basically it's asking, is it safe for me? The limbic system, which is emotional, do I feel good about it? And neocortex that handles logic. So does it make sense to me? And a good copy ideally should hit all of these three. So it feels safe, it feels emotionally right, and it's eventually rationally easy to say yes to justify. And finally, there is neurochemical side. So dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, those are probably things the words you probably know. But these are neurotransmitters behind pleasure, reward, and trust. So when your email makes someone feel excited, safe, or seen, you are triggering that real chemical response. So basically, we are not just writing words. We want to write experiences that shape that behavior. So we want to affect them mentally, emotionally, and even chemically. And here's the wild part, which also why I mentioned that 90%, 95% of decisions, they happen in the subconscious. So that's a not made up stat. It comes from Harvard's Gerald Zeltman, and it's backed by neuroscience and psychology. And what it means basically is that the emotional brain processes information faster than the rational brain, and it plays a huge role in shaping our preferences and actions. So we like to think we are logical, but we are not. And it's more like, emotion leads and logic follows. And as a marketer, your job isn't to convince necessarily the brain, but it is to spark a feeling that grabs your attention. So eventually that rational why, it will come, later. And at every moment, the brain is scanning. So is it going to feel good or hurt me? So here's the first useful trick for you, or advice, that avoiding pain is usually a much stronger motivator than gaining pleasure. So in your emails, you don't just list features of benefits, you paint a picture with words, what your reader is struggling with now, what it is costing them, and how your offer makes that go away. And here's a quick example. So the text reads, tired of cart abandonment headaches. Here's how to recover 30% more revenue automatically. So we can say that the product we are selling is email marketing automation, specifically cart abandonment flow. But instead of saying that, set up this essential automation now, we address the pain point. Probably every e-commerce merchant had that people are leaving their stuff in carts, and even worse, they are then leaving us. And just imagine how much more revenue I could get if they would just complete that purchase. And then we reply to that internal feeling our reader got, that, yeah, we get it. And you could actually recover 30% of that revenue, and you can do it automatically. And you can set up this flow, and the revenue will start rolling in on autopilot, and you can just chill. And who wouldn't want to chill and also at the same time gain revenue? So definitely I would. So that's what it's all about. It's to put you have to put on your empathy hat on and try to really, really understand what problems you are solving and what's the emotion behind that for the reader and for your customer. And a good starting point for that could be understanding what motivates us to take action. And almost every sales decision, whether it's B2B, B2C, is it $19 or 19,000, it's rooted in one or more of these five motivators. So we have basic needs, money, food, security. We have convenience, which is save me time, save me energy. We have safety, which is physical, financial, reputational. We have self-image, help me look smart, help me feel in control, appear successful. And we have fun, which is joy, novelty, excitement, and escape. So really, if you want more clicks, start speaking to one of these instead of like rattling off features and characteristics of the products or services you are offering. So now we know how people make decisions. It's emotion first, safety second, logic third. Now let's talk about how to influence those decisions and do that, of course, ethically. So these are called mental triggers, and think of them as switches in the brain that make it easier for someone to say that, yeah, that feels right, let's go. And you'll probably recognize a few of those triggers we'll discuss next from your own inbox, from even your own buying behavior, because they really actually work. Because see, our brains, they are built to save energy. So we are not wired to carefully evaluate every email we open. We skim and we rely on intuition. So mental triggers are like shortcuts, and they help people to make decisions faster without burning that mental calories. And that's why they work so well also in email, because you are not trying to convince someone to run a marathon. You are asking to do one simple step, which is, open, click, reply, or buy. And yeah, let's start with one of the most powerful ones, which is urgency and scarcity. And this is your classic fear of missing out. When something is limited in time or in quantity, it does feel more valuable. So we hate the idea of losing out, so we act faster. And you could say in your email, that is, you have only 5 spots left. Doors close at midnight. Final hours to get this bonus. But of course, make sure it's real, because fake scarcity, it burns trust, while, real urgency, it can build momentum. Next is authority. We are hardwired to follow experts. So whether it's a doctor, a chef, tech reviewer, even like your favorite YouTuber, the same works in email. So you can build authority by mentioning your experience or credentials. You can quote experts, highlight partnerships, awards, press stuff. So for example, you can say trusted by over 3,000 Shopify brands or featured in Forbes. And it's not that much of a bragging thing. It's that you are making people feel safe to say yes to you. This one is simple yet powerful. It's reciprocity. So basically, when you give someone something valuable, they are more likely to give you back. So it's not transactional as much, but it's psychological. And in email, this can look like, free guides, quick how-to tips, checklists, insightful content with zero ask from your reader. So, here's a campaign breakdown you can steal, no signups, no strings. And it simply builds trust when you are not really asking anything back at the moment. And when you do finally make an offer, they are actually listening to you because they trust you. And okay, let's be honest, we all check reviews. So social proof is the idea that we feel safer doing what others have already done, especially if those people feel like us. So in email, this can be as simple as used by 12,000 businesses, meet the brands growing with this tool, or maybe a short customer quote. Because social proof, essentially, it lowers the risk. So it says that you are not alone in liking this, and it's already working for others. Next is specificity, and it's such, I think, underrated trust builder, because our brain, it ignores generic claims because it's already desensitized to them. But when you give extra details, people tend to believe you. For example, grow your list by 147% in 30 days, or save 4.5 hours in a week with this flow. So these are oddly satisfying to read because they do feel real. Last one for now is exclusivity, because we all want to feel like we are part of something special. That velvet rope effect is really very much real. And in email, exclusivity can look like a private invite that is not available publicly, an early access for subscribers only. Only the top 5% are getting this perk. So exclusivity raises the perceived value and gets people to act fast. And especially if it sounds personal. So yeah, here's your toolkit. These are the levers you can pull, mix and match in your email. And you don't need to use all of them in one go. And in fact, please don't. But choosing the right one or two for the moment, that's when your email starts to feel persuasive, but not pushy. Okay, so we talked about how to persuade people to act, but even when the copy is solid and the triggers are in place, something can still block the sale, and that something is buyer objections. Objections are like your little voices that say "yeah, but" or "what if," "maybe later." Uh, if your email doesn't address those unspoken doubts, they'll stay stuck in the maybe zone, and the maybe zone usually means no. And objections, they aren't logical problems, they are more like emotional blocks. So they show up as hesitation, avoidance, second guessing. And if your email doesn't proactively address those doubts, your reader fills the silence with basically the worst case scenarios for you. So you don't want them to start thinking that this is probably too complicated or I'll look into it later. Your job as a writer isn't just to excite, but to also reassure them. So let's go through the most common objections. First one, will this work for me? This one is the most common blockers and one of the easiest to miss, actually. Your reader might see that others are getting results, but still think that, yeah, but my business is different, you know. So to diffuse this, show a mix of results from people in different industries, skill levels, and situations. So for example, this worked for a fitness coach and a SaaS founder. Or even if you're starting from zero, here's what's possible. So you make them feel seen and they'll start to believe that it can work for them. Second, I don't trust this. So if someone is hesitating because they don't trust you or offer product brand, then you need to lean on authority and social proof. We covered that before. So things like testimonials, recognizable clients or partners, certifications, press mentions, and so on. But also tone really matters. So if your email sounds too hypey or maybe it's too vague, it creates friction. So you have to be clear, be grounded, and always back your claims. Uh, I won't be able to use it, the third one. People are busy and tired, and if something even feels like work, they will bail. So you've got to remove that mental friction. You can say things like, it takes 10 minutes to set up, no tech skills required. We'll walk you through step by step. Better yet, you can show a screenshot or a mini video in email if possible. So you have to make it look stupidly doable. The fourth one is now is not the right time. This one sounds harmless, but it kills conversions. When someone says later, it does very often end up meaning never. So to overcome this, you need to add a reason to act now and show what waiting will cost them. So for example, you can say every day you wait, X more sales are lost, or next week this offer will be gone, or the longer you wait, the harder this gets to fix. So basically, you are helping them prioritize essentially. Uh, what if I don't like it? So this is about risk. Even if they love what you are offering, they are still thinking, what if it sucks? Or what if I waste my money? So that's where risk reversal comes in. And it's offering things like money back guarantees, free trials, or cancel anytime policies. So you should not only mention it once, you actually should repeat it clearly because this reassurance needs to be felt, not just seen. Too expensive. So price objections are rarely about the number. They are about value perception. So to handle this, you should break down what they are getting. You could show ROI. You can reframe it in context. So for example, you can say one extra sale pays for this and that, or most customers see returns in 2 weeks, or this costs less than your coffee habit and it actually pays you back. So your goal is to make it feel like not buying it would be a bigger cost than buying it. But yeah, don't worry, you don't need to add a whole FAQ section in your email, just like with mental triggers. But you do need to show that you get their hesitation and you've already solved it. So, good objection handling copy sounds like you're probably wondering, or even if you have tried it and it didn't work, it could do this. Or no tech skills, then no problem. When the email feels like it's reading their mind, they trust you. And of course, they click. Now that you understand how to trigger action and clear objections, let's talk structure. Because even the best ideas can fall flat if they are hidden in a wall of text, or buried in a confusing layout. So this section is all about the anatomy of a high converting sales email and what to say, where to say, and why it works. So first, it's important to mention that when someone opens your email, they give you maybe, 3 seconds before deciding whether to keep going or hit delete. And people don't read top to bottom. They usually scan and if for something that speaks to them. So that's why structure really matters. And a good email guides your eye. It makes the message feel easy. And when something feels easy to read, it feels easy to say yes to as well. So this is simple framework that many experienced marketers use it all the time, and it works across industries, across price points and audiences. So obviously we have subject line that gets the open for you. We have opening line that builds connection and momentum, core message that taps into a pain or a promise, social proof authority that reassures, and a call to action that gives them a next step they can't miss. So let's walk through each of these. Subject line. The only job of a subject line is to get the open. So forget the clever wordplay or long-winded setups. You go for emotion and curiosity. So for example, you can say, you're not wrong, it is too expensive. Or wait, you forgot something. It should be short and sharp and scroll stopping. So that's the goal basically. And the good news is that you are not alone in this and you don't have to do everything alone anymore. So even with the subject line, you can talk to Omnisend AI and say what's your goal or what deal you are offering, and it can suggest you options. So you can tweak them. You can copy paste them if you feel like it. It's totally up to you. But just know that this great help is basically a couple mouse clicks away. Okay, moving on. Once they open your email, you need to keep them reading. So you do that by making it immediately relevant. This line is your bridge from that curiosity that you sparked to connection. So you can say, still Googling how to fall asleep at 2 a.m., or you booked the trip, now what? Or if budgeting makes you feel like you want to cry, keep reading. And start with them. It's very important, not your product, because that's how you build trust. And so if you are already an Omnisend email builder now, probably not now, but you will soon be, let's be honest, and you have, let's say, a rough draft, Omnisend's AI writer will actually automatically can check your text for style, for grammar, for tone, mistakes or misalignments, and can give you tips and suggestions how it can be improved. So you can also then click a little sparkly icon and actually have Omnisend AI to suggest you an improved copy. Yeah, next is core message. This is where you actually go deeper. You start by acknowledging what's hard, annoying, broken, frustrating, then show how your offer helps. So you are not just pitching, you are basically painting a picture. You are now stuck right here. This is how I can get you there. And again, this whole situation, the painting, the you are trying to paint with words. If you feel stuck, if you don't have enough time, or if you know, on that day you simply don't love copywriting and there's nothing you can do about it, but the email needs to be sent, chat with Omnisend AI. It will help you come up with things you need, at least, at the very least, inspire you, give you some good hints on, you know, hooks and so on. So this makes your work so much easier, faster, and more efficient. And, you know, it can take the headache away that you probably, all of us experience at some point when copywriting. So, yeah. Now, after someone gets emotionally excited, their rational brain jumps in. You know, already we had some time, and the rational brain, the logic, caught up with us. So, is this legit? This is where you offer reassurance. So you can do it with a quote, a stat, a logo bar, or just, you know, a quick join 3,000 plus brands who use this. And it doesn't need to be long, just enough to prove that this isn't guesswork. It's a proven thing. And finally, your call to action. It needs to be crystal clear and it needs to be benefit driven. So don't just say learn more or click here. You should say what they are actually getting. So you can say start your free trial, no credit card needed, or see the full breakdown, grab your discount before it expires. And you shouldn't include 5 different links. Give them one thing to do and make it irresistible. Now, let's try to put this in practice and do a little bit first aid for your regular schmegular sales email. So, on the left, there's a typical email. It's polite and functional, completely forgettable, technically fine, but emotionally very, very flat. So we can fix that. So, for example, subject line, instead of announcing we hook and we speak to pain and then promise clarity. So instead introducing our new analytics feature, we say still guessing what's working. Now you don't have to. With opening line, we cut the brand excitement. We want to lead with empathy and we want to make it about them. So instead of saying how we are so excited to announce that we worked so hard and added this new feature, we say that if you're tired of staring at confusing reports or juggling tools that just to get the basic insight, we totally get it. And in our core message, we shift from features to outcomes. So we show what they gain. So instead of our updated analytic dashboard helps you track performance, access key metrics, yada, 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 we say that it shows you what is actually working and what is not at glance, and you get real-time performance insight that are delivered for you in a simple way, so you can spend less time guessing and more time optimizing. We also add a missing social proof, which is a very specific one, which is really good that early users cut their reporting time in half and already spotted revenue leaks within days. And the final CTA, makes the action clear and very easy to take. So instead of a vague learn more, we say try the new dashboard. It's already live in your account. So what changed? Not the facts, but just the focus. We rewrote it for the reader and not the sender. Now, yeah, let's be honest. Sometimes the hardest part of writing is just starting or closing or making it sound like a human wrote it and not AI at 3 a.m. That's where this comes in. A cheat sheet of phrases you can steal, tweak, drop right into your emails. And we won't go through every category here, but you will get the full list in a follow-up doc along with the recording. And you can expect some good opening lines, phrases that lead your reader, create movement, and calm their inner critic. So these phrases, they work because they anticipate how people actually feel and sound something a human would say, and they create clarity and momentum. And as we're nearing the end, here's what I want you to take away: that great emails, they don't feel like marketing. They feel like clarity, and they feel like someone finally gets it, and they get me. So aim for connection over cleverness, for simplicity over shouting, and for confidence, even if it's a quiet confidence over desperation. And I want to leave you with something actionable. So when you get back to work or like just feel like doing a little bit of experimenting, pick one of these exercises. So you can try to rewrite a past email using the structure we covered, or you can choose a mental trigger and build a short campaign around it, or use the phrases you will receive in the handout doc and see how those work for you. And, just try to feel around and then try to understand how the audience feels about it. And the best way to do it and to achieve the confidence in your copy, of course, is to test it. So with Omnisend, you can basically A/B test pretty much anything. You can do 2 subject lines, 2 CTAs, a short version versus a long one, or one email focused on emotion and another on logic. And you don't really need to overhaul your whole strategy right now. Just try small variations and do one at a time. The data will tell you what works, and it's not going to be your gut, not going to be me, not going to be your boss or I don't know, a random blog post. So by, relying on data, that's how good emails gets better. So yeah, thank you guys. I hope this was interesting.
Milda, thank you so much. Like, as you were talking, I immediately started thinking, okay, there's going to be campaigns. Like, I'm just going to open this deck. I'm just going to map things out. Like, it's so exciting for me because I wish I had this when I started in e-commerce and email marketing, because there are so many assumptions. And as you say, there's that gut feeling. But sometimes as email marketing people, we tend to assume or even hope for a certain customer instead of like looking at who our actual customers are. And as you were talking about testing and everything, I immediately thought about that. Like, just, gut feeling, it comes from your experience. But if you can get data, get data. And Ira shared in the chat a link to our webinar on A/B testing. So definitely check it out for ideas. And something that stood out to me at the beginning, you said, objections are also emotional. So if we're making those decisions and we want things and they're emotionally driven, so are our objections. Customers don't change for like they're not just irrational for what they want and suddenly they're rational in the objections. So I think that's also a very important thing to remember. Like, I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I agree totally, because I consider myself a perfect person to send the marketing materials to, because I am so like I'm affected by all of it and it works on me. But I also have with experience, I have a critical mind, so I can really try to reflect and understand why did this work on me and what did they do to spark that emotion, and did I manage to say no? Well, maybe not. Maybe I said yes,
Absolutely. And also, when you mentioned testing, I think it's very important not to test on, and it's top tip, my experience. I'll claim this one. Do not test on your full email list. Look at your segments and test within segments as well. Because your biggest fans, your brand champions, they might react to different triggers and they might have different objections than people who have never bought from you or only bought once. So isolating those tests for your life cycle segments for different buyers, that is also very important. Because again, someone who has been buying from you for the last year, they understand your pricing. They have different objections, maybe, and they are different from those new buyers. So that definitely, like, as you were talking, I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I've been there. I just assumed, and I just done it with everyone. And also, again, from my personal experience, and I keep reminding it to myself, because especially if you love copywriting, it's staying obvious with your copy. Because sometimes you want to be clever or you think, oh, this is so good, they're gonna love it. But people, as you said, we just scan things, we look at it, and then that's gone. So when you try to be too clever or too original or too out there, then it can backfire. So as we were
Mhm.
talking, I was like, yes.
Yeah. For me, I have this mental exercise when it comes to copywriting and not to, to stay on point. I put like each word cost me $1, and I need the best return on my investment. So each word is it has value. So ideally, I want my copy to be cheaper, and bring me more return on my investment. So the less words, the less, fluff, the better. Just being honest and straightforward.
Especially with sales emails, as you said, like when it comes to subject lines, again, that urge to be clever and
Mm-hmm.
standing out, but people need to understand like what you bring to them. And the same with CTAs, because it has it's like a two-edged sword. If it's too generic, then people can be like, well, it doesn't matter. If it's
Mm-hmm.
too out there and people don't know. So what is the call to action? What will happen after I press that button? That can also backfire.
Yeah.
So that also like just being obvious. Do your copy and then just be like, okay, I need to check this. Like, is it me being clever? Will anyone else understand it?
The
And
most clueless person should understand it.
exactly, exactly. Someone who hasn't looked at it, who doesn't know what's happening, you can test it on them. So absolutely. And also, again, guys, we have Omnisend AI now in your Omnisend accounts. You don't need to install anything, it's there. So if anything, go there and chat with it. Um, uh, so there was a question, and I think you kind of touched on it when you were talking about the aid for your emails.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just find it. So it was about the tone of voice and staying true to that. And the question is it okay for boring B2B SaaS companies to be creative with the tone in emails? Most stick to formal tone with jargon. So,
Mm-hmm.
what would be your advice as a content person here? What should we do?
Okay, my first instinct is to say, what would you like to get from your, B2B partner? What would you really would you want to feel like there's a person behind there, or do you want it to be, jargon and feel generic or soulless? So I feel like, there's a person behind everything, and we all have our uh, you fears and things that we wish for and so on. So with marketing, it's the same. Even if it's B2B, you're still talking to a person who wants to achieve something. So, I feel like uh, at least, giving yourself a chance to experiment little by little is definitely a thing you should do. Of course, I don't know everything and I don't know everybody. And there are brands and people who this wouldn't work in, ever. So always keep that in mind that marketing is annoying because you have to test and find what works for you. So yeah, that my advice is to try, and we do that. We are the B2B company essentially, and I think we're quite fun so with our marketing. So, how do you feel about that? Answer that to yourself, and then you get an answer for your question too.
I like it. And also from my own experience as well, uh, thinking about the audience and who you're talking to, maybe your audience is just so fed up with constantly seeing the buzzwords and keywords that lead nowhere. And they just need some refreshing copy that would be like, hey, that's the problem in the simplest terms, and that is the solution. There is no industry specific words, nothing. You're just out there being like, hey,
Hmm.
that's the plain thing. And
Yeah.
also, go on.
Oh, yeah, and I like the other thought that came to my mind, especially for those that are like selling B2B companies that are selling a complex service or a product. You are not always selling to an expert of that, You sometimes are selling to someone who just, an office administrator or something like that. You need to be able to explain those things simply. You need like, explain things and imagine that my mom needs to understand this, so because not always are selling to an expert, and that's also why it's so important to have clarity and go over, like, simplicity over complexity and sounding, flashy.
Absolutely. And as we were saying this, I thought about Black Friday coming up and Christmas when people are shopping for other people. So, for example, I know my friend loves skincare. And like it's a massive industry. I'm not an expert. I kind of assume, okay, there's a cleanser, a serum, or whatever. And when we're shopping for someone and we know they like something in that specific niche, then again, you can tailor your message to them. So you would not be like in e-commerce, you would not go into details or
Mm-hmm.
very specific to the product or niche vocabulary. You would just use simple terms, being like, hey, that person loves this kind of stuff and this does it. So that's how you approach those different people as well, even when you're selling the same product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is where, like, segmentation really comes in, and as you said, figuring out who are your MVPs are and your top fans and who are, like, casual shoppers and so on, and how to speak to all of them.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at the chat. Thank you everyone for the questions. There was a question about the handout that Milda mentioned. So after the webinar, in a couple of days, you will receive the recording of this webinar, and we will include the slides, including some bonus insights there that Milda mentioned that you can try out in your email copies there. So don't worry, you'll get it in your inbox. There was a question about which I think is very relatable to our audience. Again, a very international crowd today. The question is there different advice between US or Europe or any other market when you're talking to the consumers?
Mm-hmm.
And, how would you approach that, especially if you have an international audience? So we have different trios and everything. What would be your approach?
I think you definitely need to keep that in mind. More because of, we people in Europe and people in US or in other continents, you have different celebrations. So if you want to communicate different things. So that's the most basic, that different things happen in different places. So you need to be mindful of that. When it comes to tone, be aware of the culturally sensitive things, obviously, but essentially it's finding out what is your audience receptive to, how they like you to speak to them. So while there are some practical things you need to keep in mind, calendar events or, cultural stuff, but the tone, the connection you create with your audience. It's not necessarily different across countries. It can be. Again, this is the annoying part. You need to, you need to make assumptions, and then you need to gather data, basically. So, and it's good that we can gather data, and when you can test things out, because before that was all available, marketing was just guesswork and fake claims.
I love that you said, like, you have to make assumptions. So do not be afraid of assumptions. Just be honest with yourself that you're making an assumption, because we all do the research into the market. Well, I hope we do the research into the market, into the product, into, those things. So you at least have a starting point to make your assumptions about something. And if you have your historical data, you can also refer to that as well. I would even add to Milda's homework to just go to any of your previous campaigns. And let's say, okay, we have the 4th of July coming up in the US. Check your last year's campaign, see how it performed. Look against Milda's recommendations and tactics and see what could you improve? What could you change? So yeah, when you said it, I was like, that's what's coming to my mind. Very practical advice. And we have another question that I think we can touch on, and we will wrap this up this session. It's about how do you use this approach when you're launching multiple features? But I also would rephrase this to an e-commerce business. Let's say I'm launching a new collection of items, and now I'm looking at my items. I'm like, well, this trigger could work, and this could work, and there's like so much happening. So what would you recommend us to start with to get ourselves in line instead of being like, let's just do all of it, or let's do nothing about it? So how would
Yeah.
you approach at least the first initial steps here?
Uh, get your best project manager to map everything out. I I don't know. I personally would start from thinking about whether each feature is relevant, to everyone, and basically do the basic segmenting. Do I have one big audience and they need to know everything? Then it's kind of not an ideal thing. But if I have, different audience, then I simply split, the campaigns and split the wording. You need to, if you need to try to tell everything to everyone at once, uh, it's a very, very tricky thing. And then I would say go for simplicity and go for clarity, and don't overwhelm your readers. You can think about, and it's going away from copywriting, it's more onto the general, strategizing. But think about places you can land your readers rather than putting all the information in one email. So, call to actions then come into play, and guiding your reader that they can voluntarily then, read up something more about a thing that caught their, attention.
I like that, leading your reader, because I thought about one of the tactics that have worked in the past for some of the e-commerce businesses I worked with. Uh, Before launching a new collection, let's say in the clothing industry, in apparel, kind of map out the journey that the customer would take with your brand, and just start step by step. You can start from there are so many different methods you can tell a story, but just think about how would a customer, let's say maybe your store is like a clothing store, how would they walk about? How would they look for
Mhm.
things? What are the most urgent things that are coming up in the season? If you're looking at winter, it doesn't get immediately cold, like freezing cold. So maybe different layers, like you start with layering, then you go into very warm clothes. So just kind of map out different stories. Try to look at things from your customer perspective. Again, looking at different segments. You have your loyal customers. They know your brand. They know the quality. They don't need those extra assurances that it's gonna, if it's a water repellent item, they know it works. They are at a different stage of that story. So again, tailoring different steps, mapping it out, and just don't be afraid to tell a story as well. Again, simplicity, because we don't want to think too much, and it's an actual email that needs to sell. So that would
Yeah.
kind of like what worked in the past for me, and that's would be my recommendation there.
Yeah. Also, I guess I could add to that if you can talk to your customer, like if you can get them, because at Omnisend, we are very, very focused on our customer feedback, and we build our platform on feedback. And basically, anyone in the company can and should have a chance to talk to a real customer and understand them better. So you don't even have to work in marketing. It's helpful for everyone. So if you have a chance to connect and talk to your customer, do that. The insights you will get, it's like, it's invaluable.
Absolutely. Again, just knowing your customers, that is how you're gonna sell to them instead of just guessing, or again, like getting that data to back things up is just so, so valuable.
Mm.
Let me just check if the chat box, if you have answered everything. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you everyone for participating. There was a lot of fun seeing all the questions. Ira, thank you so much for holding the fort and being there for everyone. Again, you will receive the recording in a couple of days. You will receive the slides. You will receive some bonuses in there as well from Milda. Do the homework, and I'm sure you'll get something out of it. So, Milda, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And thank you, Viva and Nira, of course. And thank you, everyone, for spending this hour with me.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you soon. Have a lovely day.